messed up, man. But if you're sorry about that, if you guys are on Instagram, hey, listen, if you guys are on Facebook right now and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like this thing was on mute the whole time. Guess what? That's why you always have a B, a C, a D, a E. So I got Instagram live. They're locked in. That video is being recorded. That video will land on Facebook somehow. Dang, I think I had you guys muted the whole time. And I've got the audio and I've got the podcast. And I think this is hilarious because that just shows you, right? I don't got all this shit figured out either. I just was popping off for 20 minutes and my whole Facebook live feed was muted. So there you go. But as I was saying, the lane, right? So the guy's like, yeah, you know, and he was in the military, and in the military, it's like stay in your lane. So you kind of get that programmed into you in the beginning. And then when I'm out of the military, then it's like, I want to go in every single lane. I'm left lane, right lane, middle lane. You know, I'm driving down the wrong way on a one way. You're tinkering. As a creative person, as a entrepreneur, you're tinkering. As a hairstylist, you're tinkering. If you have that little vein in your body, that entrepreneurial spirit, you start tinkering with things. And when you start tinkering, that's how you discover, right? So in this period of time, in this, like, you know, this Corona, as I call it, the Corona economy, when we're all kind of like, you know, we don't know what's going to happen and why it's happening and none of that. This is the time to tinker. This is the time to really try new things. This is the time where I'm like pushing the edges of the envelope and figuring out what could I really do. And one of the things I shared with our regional yesterday, I was like, you know, I was kind of pissed because I was like, you know what? You know, I was like talking about pmtakehome.com, and I was like, yeah, you know, I built out the website, and we're, you know, we got our sales going on, and we're able to offer our products delivered to your doorstep. I call it beauty delivered. So I was like, that's going good, and that's helping create revenue to help pay our team. And I was like, but you know, I'm pissed. And she, you know, she's like, why are you pissed? I'm like, because I've been talking about that and wanting to do that for the last 2 to 3 years. And now I did it in 2 days. And so I'm like, you know what else have you been making up some bullshit excuses for? What else have you been putting off? What else have you been mailing it in? What else have you been kind of just on snooze, on cruise control or snooze control? What else could you do? Why did it have to be a pandemic? You know, a pandemic forced the best to come out of you. A pandemic forced you to rise up. So I was kind of pissed, you know, not, you know, at myself, just as like, because I know, and I talk about this stuff all the time, like, what could we really do? So if you're feeling that, if you're feeling like, yeah, you know, my back's against the wall, I'm not exactly sure, then just hear this, you know, you have more in you. If you're listening to this, you have more in you. You have more to do. You can do more. You should do more. You will do more. Don't let it just be Corona made me do it, right? Because you should be doing some of the things you've been talking about and thinking about and putting off. You should be doing them anyway. I should be doing them anyway. But it took to Corona to make me do it. So that's where I kind of coach myself and give myself, you know, the swift kick in the ass that I need, because I know, like, every one of us can at times be completely full of shit. And the sooner that you know, accept that and say, yes, that is true. If you're writing that down, it's okay. I'm full of shit. Write it down on this date, April 15th, 2020, during the coronavirus pandemic. I was listening to a guy, and he started talking about the Corona economy, and I was on a show called StoryTime, and he made me do it. He made me write down, you know, sometimes, and it's not all the times. You could write sometimes if you want. You could write sometimes I'm full of shit, because it's true, right? We're all full of shit from time to time. Think about the excuse, right? You make an excuse. Why do you make an excuse, right? Because that's just what we do. We try to create something, right? Why are you late for work? You know, yeah, there are accidents. There is traffic, but is that why you're late for work? Or is it the fact that you left the house with barely enough time to get there? Or you woke up late and you didn't have barely enough time to get ready? Is it because of that? Or are you full of shit when you say, oh yeah, traffic was so bad, or this lady at the red light didn't know what you know, we make up shit all the time because we're creative. And so take some of that energy, right? Take some of that creativity, that ability, and start creating some of that, some of that for good, right? Start creating some of that for the time that we're in right now, the Corona economy. So that's my opening for story time today. So I come on each and every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, and I'm reading one of two books. The first book, YFY, Your First Year in the Beauty Industry. I'm either going to be reading a chapter from that book, or I'll be reading a chapter from YFY, Your First Year in Salon Ownership. Ownership. Ready to own a salon right now? Because if you do, guess what? It says open for business. The new title, the 2020 Corona Economy title of this book is going to be closed for business, right? Yeah, because right now we're closed for business. So I've had a lot of fun doing these chapter reads and reworking these chapters. Yesterday was a banger. I got a lot of awesome feedback from you guys on the networking chapter, which when I read these, it's cool because I'm able to kind of adapt them for the current environment. I'm able to kind of go into like how I would approach this topic or that topic based on where we're at right now, based on what's happening right now. So that's been fun, the live editing, the editing on the fly. So if you haven't heard or listened to that chapter on networking, the videos on my should be on my Facebook page. If you're on Instagram, friend me up on my profile is Sonny D on Facebook. If you're listening to the podcast, same thing. The podcasts are being recorded, so that episode's live. They go live immediately after the live stream's over. I finish editing up, and the podcast will be on there, so you can listen to it. If you want to listen, go for a walk. You want to watch it, it's there. So I'll be having all the videos there. But check it out. And the thing that I think a lot of people were enjoying and why I think a lot of people were fired up, because it was like, oh shit, I still got a network. Like, yeah, you do. Like, I thought I got out, I thought I got off the hook, and I was talking about the introverts like myself that like I'm having a blast because I'm social distancing, which I've been trying to do fucking my whole life. I've been trying to social distance, and now it's the thing, it's the hottest thing. But because I'm not like, I'm a hairstylist, I'm a public speaker, I jump up on stage and jump around like a maniac, but that's not my comfort zone. I like to be able to help people, and if that's what I got to do, I just got to get out of my comfort zone. But my comfort zone, I like the the isolation. I like spending time with myself by myself. I have no like social distancing. I've been preaching that shit for years. I'm like, please, but the industry that I'm in, I wouldn't want to be in another one because it's beautiful. Like, it's called the beauty industry for a reason. And the things that I get to do, the people that I get to help, the people that I get to work with, I love that shit. Like having somebody and, coming into the salon and, or even salons that we've taken over where, they maybe don't see themselves as, that $100,000 producer, or they don't see themselves as fill in the blank. And I'm able to encourage that. I'm able to unlock that potential. I'm able to release them into the world. Like, I love that. So that means I got to go and interact with people and get socially close to people. And then doing hair, like, that's a ton of fun. I mean, you're cutting people's hair, you're shaping it, you're coloring it. You're like a designer, right? I'm like Louis Vuitton. I'm like, oh yeah, like, it's so much fun. But if that means I got to get to have that kind of fun, I got to get outside of my comfort zone. I got to get a little closer to people. That's just what I got to do. So I think the networking thing, if you are that introvert, that episode yesterday is fire. You're going to love it. You'll be able to go on and learn. And if you're stepping up for that challenge that I put out there about contacting people, reaching out to people, do it, right? What the hell do you have to lose? Like, why not? Make 20 friends a day, make 10 friends a day. What are you going to do? There's only so much you could probably, if you wanted to watch Netflix 24 hours a day or whatever, you could do that if that was the goal. But interact with some people, do some networking during this Corona economy. build your network. And you never know. Some of you will be going into new industries. Some of you will be getting new jobs. Some of you, your businesses that you were in or, used to own are not going to exist anymore. So maybe now's the time to network. And I'm not telling you that to, shock you. I'm just giving you like some reality here. And I'm the most optimistic motherfucker you'll ever meet. But I'm telling you right now, there are people, businesses that will not exist post coronavirus. It's the corona economy. So why not take this opportunity and instead of looking at it as a problem, looking at it as the opportunity where you can start networking and meeting other people through the internet that could potentially grow that network, and you can scratch my back, I can scratch yours. And so that was a big thing that was going on yesterday, and I got a lot of feedback, so hopefully you guys are fired up about that. And that was, so we did chapter 1, we did chapter 2, we did chapter 4, we did chapter 5, the hustle muscle, we did the networking chapter, which was chapter 6. We did chapter 7, which was goals, set them but don't forget them. We did chapter 8, the mentors and coaches. So we've got right now chapter 3, which is the salon interviews. It's not love at first sight. We've got chapter 9, location, 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 why bouncing around will ruin your career. And then we got chapter 10, the what if you do make it. And then we have final thoughts. And after that, I mean, we're gonna have gone through the entire book. So that's probably like what, 4 more? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Really 4 more. I mean, in the very end, there's some case studies or some acknowledgments. If you have the book, you can check all those out. But 4 more, and then we're going to be jumping into the next book. StoryTime rolls on, and by the end of our coronavirus lockdown, I'm going to have read through both of these books and hopefully shed some light and insights on them. So let's see, which one do we want to do? Location, 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 the what if you do make it, or the salon interviews chapter? 3, 9, or 10, 3, 9, or 10, 3, 9, or 10, 3, 9, or 10. Which one should we do? Let's see. Anybody want to throw a number out there? You want to pick the chapter? Yeah, buddy. You want to pick a chapter, throw a number up. 3, 9, or 10. 3, 9, or 10. Instagram, where you at? I see a 9. I see a 9. I see a 10. Do I hear a 3? 3, 9, or 10? Throw it up. Throw it up. What do you think? 3, 9, or 10? Location, location. All right. All right. That's another one. We got another 9. We got another 9. Looks like it might be 9. 9. Chapter 3, 9, or 10. Going once. Going twice. A 3 and a 9. You don't know. You're kind of conflicted. You're like 3, 9. Going once, 3, 9, or 10. Going twice, 3, 9, or 10. Sold. We're going to go into 9. Location, location. So this chapter, location, 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 why bouncing around will ruin your career. Now, what's ruining your career? What does that look like for you? For some people, ruining your career, it's like, your career is, stalled. For some people, that's what ruining your career looks like. It's stalled. Maybe it's just not moving. It's not going in the right direction. For some people, it might be ruining your career is like, maybe you decided now you're out of the beauty industry. Now you've just decided to quit completely and you're gone. That's your career in beauty. Now, keep in mind, I said it's location, location, location. Why bouncing around will ruin your career, not ruin your life. Okay. If you end up out of the beauty industry, your life is not over. Okay. There's other industries you can get into. I've seen people do it. But when we're talking about ruining your career, meaning you started over, if you've been in the industry for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, right, you should be pretty well established, making a pretty decent income. In some people, to get to that point, it's hard. Number one, to get to that point, a lot of people don't get to that point. because a lot of people, they throw in the towel way before that, you know, because they're like, oh man, especially if you're a commission, which I mean, personally, I think commission, let me take a sip of this tea. I got some tea I made this morning. It's a pumpkin spice. It's getting cold, so it's going to be iced tea by the end of this, but it was hot tea. I got to keep the vocals fresh. I got a guest artist later this afternoon with one of our schools in Chicago. Got to keep the vocals good. But if you're looking at your career like we'll say the average, we'll just say like an average, like a career is 20 years. People aren't putting things into perspective. You know, I work with a lot of youngins, right? I work with a lot of like early 20s, you know, the youngest, you know, I've had, you know, people 18, 19 just getting started. They're, you know, barely, they didn't have a clue. Like at the end of the day, the world it's crazy. And until you've had a few years out there on your own, it's hard to really understand what the world's about. And when you start your career thinking about it as 20 years, right? I just want to get that number in your head. So if you're starting something right now and you're changing careers, starting a new career, whatever it is, I just want you to add 20 years to what you're doing. And just that's starting with the end in mind. That's big picture thinking. 20 years is the career. And then I want you to go back. Okay, what's half of that? 10 years, right? What's a quarter of that? 5 years. So a lot of people don't even make it through the first quarter. If you've ever played sports, I don't care if it's hockey, baseball, football, whatever, volleyball, you know, tennis, I don't give a damn what it is. But there's going to be some kind of, you know, whole complete game. And you're going to have maybe a halftime, or you call it a quarter, then you have a period, whatever you call it. There's going to be these segments. So think about that. You're playing basketball. We'll just use basketball, right? They have 4 quarters. You know, maybe they're 15 minutes apiece. So the entire game is 60 minutes. What do you think? What kind of results do you think we would get? Or what kind of you know, value would we get? What kind of anything would we get if you watched a game and at the end of the first quarter they just stopped playing? They just took the ball and see, shit, we're done. Like imagine that, huh? How would the Super Bowl work if you never even made it to halftime? Right? Play 1 quarter of football and it's a wrap. Like that would be, you'd be like, what the? You'd be like, it would be no way. So I want you to think about that. If you're under 5 years, you haven't even made it through the first quarter of your quote unquote career. So I just want to put that in perspective, because some people think, you know, oh, I've been here for 6 months and I haven't made it yet. I'm out of this place. Fucking sucks. Like this salon's crap. Like you haven't even made it to the first quarter of your career. And so in that first period, that first quarter, whatever you want to call it, is, you know, we're talking 5 years. If you've worked in 2, 3, 4, 5 salons, you're probably, you know, kind of stuck, because what's happening is what I'm talking about in this chapter that's ruining the career. So ruining could be an ongoing thing. If you're restarting, just like that game, you're restarting after every quarter. All right, we just played a quarter of football. Let's go back to 0 and start over. You'll never finish. You'll never build it. You'll never finish the game. And if you look at your career as a 20-year game, a 20-year challenge, and you're quitting after 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or you're bouncing around and around, you're going to be stuck in the first quarter for 20 years. And there are people, my friends, my Instagram peeps, my Facebook Live, my Zoomers, my Snappers, my whoever's that's on here on these different streams. There are people that you know right now that are still in the first quarter, and they've been doing this shit for 20 years. Now, if I were watching a football game, a baseball game, a basketball game, a whatever game, and they just kept playing and playing and playing the first quarter over and over and over again, I would be pissed. And those people are. I would be furious, and those people are. And here's the thing. My goal with this chapter is have you not be those people. So on with it. Let's get into it. All right, so we're on chapter 9. Here we go. Location, location, location. Why bouncing around will ruin your career. And like all great chapters, we're going to start again. We're going to start again with a quote. If you're not satisfied with your environment, answer this question. Have you committed 100%? If not, then your environment probably hasn't either. I want you to think about that. If you're not satisfied with your environment, have you committed 100%? And if not, then your environment probably hasn't either. It's kind of like if you're not putting in, your environment's not putting in. And that quote was by a guy named Sonny D. You may have heard of him. Location, location, location. Why bouncing around will ruin your career. Okay, so you finally decided to start working. You found the right salon and you're ready to begin the journey. As you begin the journey, you discover along the way, maybe this is not the place for you. So then you start looking around for a new opportunity. A friend tells you about another salon that just opened up. So you have an interview and you start working at your second salon. After a while, you decide there may be another opportunity. And this starts the path that will slowly but surely ruin your career. As you are beginning, you need to think about building your career. You need to think of it like building a house. First, you will need to find a plot of land to do all the excavation and make sure that everything looks good so you can begin to build. As you start laying the foundation, if you see another plot of land and go over there, what do you think is going to happen? Are you not going to pick up where you left off? You're not. You're not going to have to start. You're going to have to start all over again. Before you know it, you have all these little foundations that you started building, and time is going by. Months turn into years, and years turn into nothing. Bouncing around from one location to another location, I have seen cause a very slow death to many stylist careers. Using the interview tips that I shared earlier, you want to make sure that when you are going to commit to a salon, that you plan to stay there and build. You're going to be building goodwill, not only between yourself and the salon owner, but between yourself and the guest. When you think that you're going to leave and all of your guests that you've been working with are going to follow you, you are sorely mistaken. Will some guests follow you? Sure, they will. But typically what we see is when somebody leaves, they lose roughly 60 to 80% of their business. If you do that one or two times, you are completely starting from scratch. I worked in a salon where I had a guest tell me that they did not know what I would do if did not know what they would do if I ever left. They said if I left, they would be lost without me. The reality is when that time came and I did leave to start my own business, those guests were nowhere to be found. That is the reality of guest loyalty. You have to remember, this is a business. Those guests are loyal to the location that they are going to. And once you have created a pattern for them and they are used to going to that location, that is most likely what they are going to remain doing. So when you are deciding on a salon, I want you to think about not going to work for the commission, but going to work for the salon. What do I mean by that? I will share a short story with you. And I'm going to jump in here real quick. I talk about that 70, 60, 70, 80%, people that don't follow. I only worked in one salon in my career, and it was one of the best salons in Tampa, and great reputation, great ownership, great everything, built and built and built and built. And when I left, hardest decision I ever had to make, it was to start my own business, which didn't get off the ground for a whole nother year, right? Because I didn't start planning it until I left the salon, because I have this thing called integrity, and I'm not going to be planning a salon opening and behind that owner's back. That's just not good for business. And the world is a wheel, and it will come around and kick you in the ass. So if you're in a salon right now, that's a little disclaimer, a little tip from Uncle D over here. You're thinking about leaving it open in your own spot. Don't do any shady shit behind the scenes. I've caught stylists doing that. In my own company, I never did it because I know like that's just bad karma. And whatever you believe in, trust me, that will come around and bite you in the ass. So when I left a year later, I opened. But yeah, I lost a lot of people, right? And they were people, oh, I love you, I can't live without you, and ba ba da ba ba da ba. And and some of them that found me, I was like, oh Jesus, I didn't want to do their hair anymore, but they found me. So it's weird, but you will lose a big chunk every time you decide, to kind of bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce. So let's get back to the story. So I'm going to share a short story here. There are two guys, Dave and Bill, that went to work for a railroad. They started working the same day and they began doing the same job. One day, Dave was out there in the hot sun, pounding away as a railroad car slowly started to approach. The railroad car came to a stop and someone leaned out the window and yells, Dave, Dave Anderson. Dave wipes the sweat from his brow and looks up and noticed it was his friend Bill. He went over to the car and they embraced. Bill invited him inside and they sat and talked for what seemed to be for maybe an hour. They embraced once more and Dave went back to work. As he walked back out into the hot sun over to the crew, one of the guys said to Dave, Hey Dave, is that Bill? Bill Murphy? The president of the railroad? Yep, sure is. We have been friends for over 20 years. 20 years ago, we started at this railroad on the same day. The coworker asked, Well, how is it that you are still out here working in the hot sun with us and Bill Murphy is the president of the railroad? Dave, without hesitation, said this. It's pretty simple. 20 years ago, when we started this job, I went to work for $5 an hour. Bill, on the other hand, he went to work for the railroad. The moral of the story is when you decide to go to a salon, you decide to join that salon. You decide to go to work for that salon, not for the commission, not for the paycheck. That is how you are going to build goodwill. That is how you're going to build a solid business. So I want you guys to be thinking about that. It's a mentality. That's what I'm talking about right there, mentality. When you go to work for a salon, you're going to work for that salon. If you're going to work for the paycheck, you can get a paycheck anywhere. You don't need to go work at a salon. You go work if you're just looking for the paycheck, you can find paychecks, especially if you're just starting out in the salon. You're not going to be go work at Amazon. I mean, they're paying 17, 18 bucks an hour. You're not going to be making that starting working in a salon in the beginning. But over time, if you go to work for that salon, I've got people making $40, $50, $60 an hour. I'm looking at people's, income, what they're doing, but that's not in the beginning. You might be working for, minimum wage, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 bucks an hour, somewhere in there in the beginning. But if you go for the paycheck, get that from somewhere else. But if you go work for that salon, like in this story, when you hear about Bill, becoming the president, because he went to work for the railroad. So back to the story. The opportunity may come for you to travel, and you do not have to limit yourself to the city or state that you live in. When you are looking for an ideal position in the salon, be open-minded. Use tools available to see what is available out there. I recommend to interview at least 3 salons before you make a decision. Look at the pros and cons and use the salon interview tips that I shared in an earlier chapter. Make a decision, and once you make it, you need to think about sticking to it. Location is important. In some cases, though, you may find a location that is not on a busy main street, but may have all the other attributes that you are looking for. So you want to weigh those against each other. If you are depending on only the salon location to bring in clientele, you need to go back and read the networking chapter we did yesterday, okay? I have salons that are in prime locations, and I have salons that experience a high volume of walk-in traffic. Some experience a lower volume of walk-in traffic, but the difference maker for any stylist will always come down to that stylist. So you want to consider that traffic is not the only deciding factor. You also want to consider when you're working in that location that you are farming around that location. You want to make yourself a frequent patron in different places around that location. Your first year in the beauty industry is really going to be your hardest year, so just remember that it does take time. If you are coming into an established salon, you may have that support from the salon to receive new guests that are coming in, but I would not rely on that solely. Making a firm commitment to that location that you are at is the quickest way to build your business. One of my stylists that I can think of that has been with our company for 6 years has a former classmate that for the same amount of time has continued to bounce around from salon to salon to salon. As I watch this individual still continue to struggle, it seems like every year they are rebuilding their clientele. Meanwhile, the stylist at my salon has experienced 10 times the growth in the same amount of time. Not by coincidence, it's by commitment. Commit to a location, commit to a salon, stay put, and you will build a solid business that continues to pay you for the years to come. As I like to say, stick and stay is bound to pay. So that's my hot take, my tips on location, location, location. Why bouncing around will ruin your career. Hopefully you guys are thinking about that. If you're starting a location, we had a salon in this one neighborhood that we had to close, right? Just wasn't performing where we needed it to be. And when we closed it, I thought about that as an owner and as a stylist, because I'm a stylist first. So I thought about that, and I'm like, this is a location, and bouncing around, like even moving the salon, like I had to move that salon 2 times in 1 year, but it was critical for me to maintain that proximity because I know how guests are. They like their routine. They like to know where they're going. They're like, that's my salon. That's my neighborhood. That's my ba, 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 ba. A lot of times as stylists, sometimes we get hung up and we got an ego and we think, these guests are so loyal to me, and you move across town and see what happens. I've had plenty of stylists leave over the years and retained a lot of those guests because they like coming to the salon location. They like coming to, there always will be guests that leave. I mean, that's just part of the game. I've had people that have traveled stupid distances to come see me, where I'm probably the guest that wouldn't do that. I'd probably stay if I'm, in the neighborhood and I go to the neighborhood salon. I probably would have maybe my favorite person at that salon in that neighborhood, but that's still kind of my salon. I have a lot of guests that are like that too. So I kept that in mind as a business owner to keep that location in that same, area. So just the same mentality as a stylist. And I know that, those stylists, like in that location are going to do so much better because a lot of those guests are loyal to that neighborhood. So that's just something to think about. I mean, yes, you might not get it right? You might not get that salon right. But if you're putting some of these things in practice, the interview techniques, you're putting those in practice, vetting the salon, learning how to interview a salon, you're putting that in practice, making sure that you're putting some of these things that I've been reading, about over the past, couple of weeks, you're putting those things in practice. That's going to create the loyalty. That's going to create the brand. That's going to create the repeat business, right? The way that people continue to come and see you. And so if you vet the salon, if you find that right salon, a lot of times the reason why people leave is because they don't properly vet a salon. I've had people come in, a week later, I already knew. I'm like, oh, and I'm vetting them, but I'm the guy that's like, I'm hiring people, right? I don't really hire, haircuts. I don't hire hair colors. I hire people. So I don't really care. Like I used to do things like, oh, do an audition, come in, do a haircut, do this and do that. And then I realized, you know what? Some people can do hair and they just are sucking at being a person. And so they're not, there's no benefit. And some people that shit the bed at doing hair, but they're an amazing person, they'll be the ones that help your company and you can really work with them. So I started doing that. I've tried so many things. It's 10 years as a salon owner, opening, 8 different, salons over that time. And I've learned and tested a lot of shit. And I will tell you this, hire people, right? People hire people. That's the people business. And so I know right now, if I've collected some really awesome people. So say coronavirus came and it decided, all of a sudden we found out that, whoa, the coronavirus, it stops hair from growing, right? It actually makes all your hair fall out permanently. Then what? If you were hiring hair cutters and hair colors, now you're shit out of luck because that's not even a thing anymore. And so what do you do? And so, but if you're hiring people, like I've got good people to where if that happened, if the coronavirus came and it stopped hair from growing, it wouldn't faze me because I didn't hire hair cutters. I hired people. And if they're coachable, they got a good image and a good attitude in any business, I can work with them. And we'll just get ninja, right? We'll get crafty, and we'll figure out what direction we're moving in. We'll find a new marketplace. Or if we don't find a new marketplace, we'll make a new marketplace. Because I'm in the people collecting business. I'm not collecting hair cutters and colorists. And so it's just a mentality. It's a mindset shift. And you need to be the same way when you go to that salon. What is that salon doing? Are they just going to make me a better hair cutter? Are they just going to make me a better colorist? Are they going to help me grow as a person? Are they going to help develop me as a professional? Forget professional, fill in the blank, whatever. But as a person, I didn't say like CIA, our motto, what I have all these wristbands. I've got my YFYI wristband, right? Got to have one of those. And then I've got my CIA wristband, my Team 1.0 CIA, coachability, image, and attitude. That's the CIA. That's what I hire. I don't give a damn if you can't, if you don't even know how to pick up your damn scissors, but somehow you made it through beauty school but you're a good person. Hey, go to the salon1.net, apply now. I'm looking for you. I want you. I hire good people. So come apply, come hang out. We already hired one person since we've been locked down because I don't base it on, oh, can you cut hair? And this person, they're still in beauty school. We already hired one person because, I hire people, right? And so those are things I want you guys to think about when you're vetting your salons, when you're looking to get yourself established, when you're starting your career, and how you can avoid that inevitable bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. So if you're watching, you're Facebooking, you're Zooming live, hopefully you got some awesome takeaways. If you're on the gram, if you guys are live, hopefully you got some awesome takeaways. Throw it in the notes. Throw like one thing that stuck out to you. My opening, we talked a lot about, that 3-foot world, staying in your 3-foot world of what you can control, especially during a time like this. Every morning, you can count on me. If you need to get some normalcy in your life, 9 a.m., hop on Facebook, hop on Instagram. We'll be doing story time Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. I'll come and share some stories. So hopefully you guys had a good experience today and got some takeaways. I'm having a lot of fun doing this. I have a lot of fun sharing just insights and growing and checking in with you guys. So I'll be back tomorrow morning. Make sure you share this, bring a friend, invite somebody, do a watch party. If you're on Facebook, do a watch party, with your team. Bring them all to story time, or bring your school, or bring whoever, bring your family, bring your dog, whoever you want to bring them to story time tomorrow. I'll be back at 9 a.m. I'll be here ready to talk with you guys, ready to share some more stories from YFY. And make sure if you haven't got your books, either one of these you can get at yourfirstsyearin.com, whether it's your ownership book, whether it's your first year in the beauty industry book. And they're all, I think they're 20% off right now if you use the code PMTSFP. That's in the comment under the video, but it's PMTSFP, yourfirstsyearin.com. If you're checking out the podcast, thanks for being here. And then if you haven't, I've given away, I think 10 so far. So these shirts, they're free. For you, you just pay a little $5 for shipping, but you can get these shirts, the YFY I Heart YFY shirts. There's the information on that is also in the post. So thanks for tuning in, guys. And I will see you guys tomorrow for story time.